The jury has acquitted Carlos Dominguez of 2 counts of first-degree murder and remained in a deadlock in a 10-2 vote on 2 counts of second-degree murder. We've actually just gotten word that an 18-year-old family member has been arrested on suspicion of the double homicide. Eric, those allegations you mentioned have led to this being the 10th grand jury investigation in 35 years.
Several subspecies of giraffes are considered endangered, and the Sacramento Zoo is doing their part to ensure that these beautiful animals stick around for generations to come.
The Placer County Sheriff's Office is investigating an alleged attempted rape that occurred right here under this bridge on Dry Creek Trail at around 5:30 p.m. California legislators, law enforcement officials, and advocates say there has been progress in targeting sex traffickers themselves, but not enough has yet been done to punish those who purchase sexual acts from minors. Those we spoke with today say several variables have led to this being one of the most challenging times producers have faced in at least 3 decades. As they say, California knows how to party, and that is exactly what we are doing out here tonight. We are celebrating 175 years of California statehood, though I say it does not look a day over 100. Well, the roads are especially snowy and slushy. Here is a look outside of our weather tracking vehicle. Now, as you can see, El Dorado County Sheriff deputies and crime scene investigators are still on scene as they continue to gather evidence for what is expected to be a lengthy investigation into this double homicide. All U.S. military personnel have taken an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Those we spoke with today say that very promise is what brought them out here today.
The Democratic candidate says she is most passionate about ensuring the rights of immigrants, prioritizing working families, improving health care coverage, and keeping your taxpayer dollars in the U.S.
The Yolo County District Attorney's Office alleges that the suspect was driving under the influence in a stolen vehicle without a valid license at the time of the crash. This new lawsuit essentially alleges that the El Centro Border Patrol agents who arrested individuals in this parking lot not only broke a federal court order, but also violated the Fourth Amendment. Carlos Dominguez admitted to stabbing all 3 victims today. The Jewish and LGBTQ communities faced the highest number of reported hate crimes across the state last year.
We are, of course, going to continue to keep you updated on this. There we go. That's how strong the wind is.
The new law divides California sex offenders into 3 tiers based on the severity of their crimes. Lower risk offenders have a chance to petition the court to be removed from the registry after 1 or 2 decades. This means the registry might not be able to tell you if someone has previously committed a sex offense. Chris Orr works in the child assault unit at the Sacramento County DA's office.
People that have touched children inappropriately can now be off of the registry. And so that exposes the public to having more difficulty to figure out who those people might be.
That includes repeat offenders like 81-year-old Kenneth Lawrence and 58-year-old Kevin Gibson. They're 2 of 12 individuals that were busted by law enforcement in a July sting, dubbed Operation Sentinel.
It's made it more difficult.
Dustin Silva is a captain with the Sacramento Sheriff Internet Crimes Against Children Unit. He was a major part of that effort and other ongoing work to apprehend child predators.
What we found is in a couple of those cases where we actually arrested individuals who had been sex offenders and registrants as sex offenders, that they were no longer registered.
They were caught by law enforcement after arranging to meet an undercover detective to engage in various sexual acts with children. They were indicted by a federal grand jury in October for several alleged offenses. Gibson was previously convicted of 2 felony counts of sexually abusing a child under 14 in 1991 and successfully petitioned the court to be removed from the registry in September 2023. Lawrence had multiple convictions, including sexual battery, dating back to 1966, 1984, and 1997. Under the new law, he was no longer registered, and his offenses only require a 10-year registration. The sheriff's office also says he admitted to engaging in sexual acts with multiple children and had never been caught.
So we're going after the worst of the worst, right? These are child predators. So to make those investigations more difficult on us, yeah, absolutely. We were, taken aback by it for sure.
Orr says the law makes it hard for prosecutors to keep convicted offenders on the registry.
There's been some hearings in Sacramento where we've challenged that and said this is inappropriate to remove this person's registration. The circumstances that the legislature gave us for allowing us to oppose it are very, very limited.
Placer County District Attorney Morgan Geyer says allowing people to be removed from the sex offender registry can be dangerous.
The whole point is for the community to know the dangers associated with people who are released. The tiering system makes it easier for those to get off. Should there be some sort of process by which someone can attempt to get off of it, perhaps, but I don't think that the law has struck the appropriate balance at this point.
As of January 10th, the California Department of Justice says 8,169 sex offenders registration was terminated as a result of this law, and that number fluctuates daily. We also asked the DOJ for the number of people who were removed from the list and reconvicted of a sexual offense. They requested nearly $5,000 from our station to provide that number. Fox 40 also contacted district attorney personnel across several counties, including Sacramento, who tell us they don't have this data. The Sacramento Sheriff's Office says this law enables abuse.
Any tools that get taken away from us to help target these people is, just allowing them to continue with what they're doing.
Some view the law positively and say it's long overdue. Several other states have similar provisions in place for offenders to petition the court to be removed from the registry. Multiple sexual assault advocacy groups and DAs support the intent of the law, saying the previous registry requirements led to wasted resources by requiring law enforcement to monitor low-level offenders. California Senator Scott Wiener says he introduced the bill, in part, to address what he says was the unfair treatment of LGBTQ residents who were allegedly targeted for same-sex conduct.
This reform will make the sex offender registry a more useful tool to law enforcement to keep our community safe.
A defense attorney who has previously represented alleged sexual offenders says some people deserve a second chance.
I think that the current regime, which allows for people to get off the registry after the specified period of time, is preferable to having just everybody register for their whole life.
You may be familiar with the Iron Dome, an invisible anti-missile defense shield powered across Israel that identifies incoming missiles. It immediately launches a counterattack to intercept those missiles before it can cause any harm and has saved countless lives. And now, Fire Dome, an Israeli tech startup, is based on the same idea.
We create that dome of protection on your property, and essentially we prevent the fire from entering inside.
In fact, one of the founders of Iron Dome sits on the Fire Dome board.
It's a launcher that projects and launches capsules that are filled with fire retardant to a distance of about a quarter mile, which gives us coverage of about 100 acres. One layer of protection around the property is to create kind of a barrier. This is what happens when, for example, you see an airplane that disperses the red stuff.
Fire Dome CEO Gadi Benjamini says the second layer of protection addresses spot fires and ember showers. Fire Dome can help fire personnel focus on the fire front and worry less about the flying embers. This could have significantly helped firefighters battling the LA fires.
Embers that starts from one end of the neighborhood, and very quickly these embers fall on or land on different on other houses, on rooftops, on vegetation, create more fires. What we do is detect them using cameras that we install on site. The camera sends a signal to the launcher launches a capsule to suppress this spot fire within seconds. It's like a battlefield. You're fighting an unpredictable enemy, the fire. You have to have attack tools, defense tools, intelligence on the fire.
And now Fire Dome is coming to Northern California. They're partnering with several vineyards and resorts to test the technology. One of Benjamini's NorCal partners is Seth Shallett.
If you're in fire tech, it's like a kid at Christmas, because there's so much happening there.
Shallett says that as more property is developed on undeveloped wildland, the risk of fires rises exponentially, and Fire Dome could in part be the answer to that problem.
Fire Dome has a number of fire ecologists and fire behavior analysts on board. They will do a map of your vegetation, your topography, the vegetation types, the slope, the fuel moistures, and help to predict the likely path of a wildfire.
Shalit says they eventually hope to mount the tech on a mobile unit that can treat a larger perimeter. Gray wolves have returned to California after a century and are multiplying at a staggering rate. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife believe there are at least 7 packs.
It's an incredibly inspiring story, right? That wolves, the symbol of the wild, can reclaim the state, their native land.
However, this enthusiasm isn't felt by all. The Modoc, Sierra, and Plumas County Board of Supervisors have declared a local state of emergency due to the confirmed presence of wolves in this cattle grazing mecca. Sierra County Sheriff Mike Fisher says they've reached a tipping point. He sent a letter to state officials, including the governor, requesting permission to declare wolves a public safety risk and authorize their removal.
The one thing that I am not advocating for, nor have any of the sheriffs that I've spoken with, is, mass killing of wolves. It is the ability for the local law enforcement to deal with a specific animal that is causing havoc and to be able to euthanize that particular problem animal.
Dave Sticks is the owner of DS Ranch and says 30% of his calves did not breed last year, leading to a $300,000 loss. They are one of several cattle farms here, one of the community's largest sources of income. A UC Davis study found that cattle exposed to wolves have issues with eating, lactating, nursing calf, and pregnancy, which saw devastating repercussions.
It was anywhere from 1.4 to $3.6 million in total losses.
And with this spring comes the birth of more pups and calves.
The more predators you have, the more kills you're going to have.
DS ranchers moved their cattle back into the Sierras as of March 30th. And according to the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, since then, there have been 6 confirmed wolf attacks on calves and at least 2 fatal wolf attacks on calves. And this year, Sticks says, has been significantly worse.
They just started tearing up calves. They had all these rips and teeth marks and all over them, which I've never seen. There's 2 of them out there.
In the 3 hours we spent at DS Ranch, we witnessed 2 gray wolves stalking cattle.
I see them.
Not once, but twice. Sheriff Fisher has since confirmed that 2 calves were attacked on the ranch while we were on scene.
We've had this place for about 30 years, and we really don't know at this point, we don't know whether it is to get out of here and sell it or what to do.
Rick Roberti is the president of the California Cattle Association.
The cattlemen are not the bad guys. We just want to be able to protect our private property.
The California Department of Fish and Wildlife's Wolf Compensation Plan has already awarded $3 million to ranchers. But a representative tells Fox 40 their hands are otherwise tied.
Gray wolves in California are listed as endangered species under both the federal and state Endangered Species Acts.
Any form of lethal removal without special authorization is illegal. The governor's office tells us they second CDFW. Paul Rowan with the Sierra County Board of Supervisors says state agencies are falling short.
They claim they want to collaborate and cooperate. Well, we're getting none of that currently.
Sheriff Fisher agreeing.
But I can also only hope that Sierra County isn't the first county that has a wolf-human wildlife encounter that results in either injury or death.
Reporting in Sierra and Plumas County, covering local news that matters. Juliette Smith, Fox 40 News. Both Representative Josh Harder and Kevin Kiley agree that this government shutdown is unacceptable. I asked both California representatives the same set of questions to gather their perspective on this shutdown. Take a listen. Republican Congressman Kevin Kiley and Democratic Congressman Josh Harder condemning the government shutdown.
This is just sort of the most basic thing that Congress is supposed to do, is to keep the government funded. And the fact that Congress has failed to do that is absolutely unacceptable.
Nobody benefits from a government shutdown.
Both California congressmen are calling for a compromise before more Americans face the consequences of this political stalemate. Kiley says this is especially true for Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
And in your opinion, what is that reasonable compromise?
If he wants to talk about potentially making sure that Americans' health insurance premiums don't go up. That's something I'm very interested in stopping as well. So that can be grounds for negotiation.
Well, I think any common ground has to start with trust and making sure that we're focused on lowering costs for people who really need it.
A new poll reveals more voters blame Republicans than Democrats over the lapse in funding. Harder says he blames both sides of the aisle. Kiley says,
I think some of the demands that were made in return for keeping the government open were unrealistic and weren't really designed to produce a compromise. But at this point, let's stop trying to blame one another.
In June, President Trump approved the Big Beautiful Bill, reducing Medicaid spending by nearly $800 billion and leaving nearly 8 million Americans without health insurance. Representative Harder and other Democrats say Congress must vote to make health care more attainable. But both representatives can agree that all of these discrepancies should have been settled months ago.
We put our trust in all of you to represent us, and now we're in a shutdown. What would you say to people who, are, as you said, blaming both sides?
Absolutely. This is a frustrating place to be in. I think it's going to take Democrats giving a little bit and Republicans giving a little bit. What I think is unacceptable is passing a budget that doesn't actually do more to lower healthcare costs.
I think what we need is just to get something passed that will get the funding we need into the government in order to be able to continue to provide critical services.
The president also warning of a potential mass firing of federal workers.
I don't think you're going to see anything along those lines.
If we have another mass round of firing similar to what happened under DOGE earlier this year, people are not going to actually receive the services that their taxpayer dollars are paying for. And that's going to be unacceptable for all of us.
Now, both California congressmen hope that Congress can reach an agreement sometime soon. For now, reporting in Sacramento, covering local news that matters, Juliette Smith, Fox 40 News.